The cheat sheet is usually the place that I start my research each week because it has every player in the field sorted by their DraftKings salary, and it has the range of outcomes, which is essentially a floor, median, and ceiling projection system. So underneath the projection column, you'll see each player's projected median fantasy points for that week. The column to the left, the 68% minus, is essentially that player's floor, and the 68% plus is the player's ceiling. The reason that I use 68% is because we are using mean and standard deviation for each individual player to determine these. So if you're familiar with normal distributions, one standard deviation in each direction will cover 68% of the outcomes. So the way to read this is 68% of the time, Brooks Koepka will score between 30.92 DraftKings points and 94.2 DraftKings points. The way to use this is dependent on the type of contest that you are playing. For example, if you are playing a cash game and you want someone who is very safe, you might consider Rory McIlroy over Brooks Koepka, because 68% of the time, Rory McIlroy's floor is going to be 52 points. That is much safer than Brooks Koepka's floor of 30 points. Now, on the flip side of that, Brooks Koepka does have a little bit higher of a ceiling. 68% of the time, his ceiling is going to be 94 points. Rory's is only going to be 92. And you'll find other players, for example, Jordan Spieth, who just don't have as high of a ceiling as some of their peers. So it looks more complicated than it is, but that's all this is saying, because golf is such a volatile sport. I don't think it makes sense to just do a one projection. This is what he's going to score this week. It's too risky. It's too volatile. What I'm trying to show you is a range of outcomes where, okay, for the majority of the time, he is going to score between these two numbers, and then you can choose your player based on the contest that you're looking to enter. Next up are the strokes gained stats. So these are updated for the 2019 season, which actually goes back to the end of 2018. And it is broken down by strokes gained off the tee, strokes gained tee to green, strokes gained approach, strokes gained around the green, strokes gained putting, and strokes gained total. So if you think this is a course where strokes gained approach will be very important, just click on that column header and it will sort by strokes gained approach, and you can see the best players in the field for that stat category, and you can do it for any stat category. Next up is the recent tournaments. What is interesting and noteworthy here is that these are worldwide, which I don't know of another place that does it like this. And this is kind of why I've done the cheat sheet in the way that I have, where each player has its own line that you can just look across and see all of this important information about. And I wanted to include not only recent tournaments on the PGA Tour, but these are worldwide tournaments. So that includes the European Tour. So some of these guys, especially in major weeks, that you'll see more often on the European Tour, you're also able to see their finishing position here. So obviously, these are finishing positions. Green is better than red. Brooks Koepka, a win at the PGA is what that one is, and a fourth place at the Byron Nelson. There is a key or a legend down here at the bottom, since I use abbreviations across the column header for space. So MEM is obviously the Memorial, and then continue to go in order. BKO would be Belgian Knockout. CSC would be Charles Schwab Challenge, and so on. So that shows you, just gives you a little bit of recent form. Your most recent tournament is always going to be on the furthest left-hand side, and your 10 weeks ago or so is going to be on the far right-hand side. And as a new tournament comes up, the RBC will drop off of this, and I'll add the new tournament here on the left. 100 means they missed the cut. That is the kind of universal designation. If you see a 100 or a 101, they've either withdrawn or DQ'd. You can see here's that withdrawal from Paul Casey. That's 101. That's what you're seeing here. Then on the far right-hand side, this is tournament history. Again, tournament history. That is not course history. Now, if the tournament has always been held at the same course since 2011, it is going to be course history. But for something like the US Open, which is what we're looking at right now, keep in mind this is going to be different courses, but I think it's still valuable to see, hey, all US Opens are kind of set up in a similar way. They're in a similar time of year. They take a similar skill set. So you can take something from this, even if it is just tournament history that you're looking at. So I can quickly see Brooks Koepka, back-to-back champions at US Opens, obviously. I can see that Rory McIlroy has missed 3 straight years. Then he had a 9th place, a 23rd, and a 41st. So what I really, really like about this cheat sheet is it's very simple, and each player, again, has their own line. So for any player that I want, I can quickly look through and see, okay, salary, projections, strokes gained numbers, all of their worldwide recent tournaments, and their tournament history here, all in a snapshot. So when I get further down the list, it's a lot easier to identify, like, oh my gosh, Jason Duffner's only $6,900. He has, 3 top 10s since 2012 at the US Open. He's coming off a 7th place finish. Like, if you're seeing a lot of green out there, that's usually a good thing. So that's how I tend to use this cheat sheet, and I think it's a really valuable place to start your research.